Hey guys, I'm Michael. I'm for Travel Costa Rica Now. Real estate, man, this is going to be fun. We're going to be going into a remodeled house and what it's like remodeling your house in Costa Rica. And I remember what this house looked like before they did all this, and we're going to do that in a minute. Hey guys, we're trying to grow this channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Even if you're not really super interested in this, it would be a big help to us. But if you want to see the videos as we put them up, hit the notification bell. We'd appreciate it. And remember, if you have property or a business or land in Costa Rica and you're thinking about selling it, email us and we'll see how we can help you. All right, man, this is going to be fun. Chris, come here. We're going to be going to Chris. We're about 20 minutes away from La Fortuna. It doesn't really matter. They bought this. You bought this house about in June of 2022.
Yep.
We saw this house, and I can't wait to show you what they've done. You're gonna explain it all.
We bought this house because we saw it on your video.
Oh, on our channel. That's a good plug, Chris. Travel Costa Rica Now, real estate.
You don't.
I do want to say first, and we don't have to get into price or anything. My personal opinion, I think D'Angelo would agree, and I think you would even agree. This was pretty well priced to buy.
Right.
And I also think, even if, I mean, you put in a bunch of money maybe, but still, I think it was cheap enough that you could do all that and be happy and all that.
Exactly.
That's
it was cheap enough that we knew that we had a cushion that we could work with.
Right. So before we get started, what was some of the, I do kind of remember, this was kind of a, if you don't know what a Tico house is, let's just go, it's basic. Everything is just practical.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of thought always sometimes.
Well, the thought that is there goes into where to put an extra wall. So,
I mean, they like walls, don't they?
They really do. They're all going to be single story until they start building onto them, but always single story and lots of walls.
Yeah, well, when I was just in there, there's not too many walls,
No,
Chris. What happened? All right, let's go in now. This isn't done.
No, you're actually going to be finding this out, finding my response on this one raw, because I got off the plane from the U.S. last night. So I'm seeing some of these things first time myself too.
So you guys are kind of newish to Costa Rica. So how did you find somebody to even do this that you felt like pretty good? Because that's even another problem of finding the right people. Because a lot of people go, yes, we can do that.
Right.
We can do that. Yes, my uncle remodels houses.
Right.
So how did you go about that?
Well, so the process for both building and remodeling in Costa Rica requires that you don't just get your builder or general contractor. You also have to get either an engineer or an architect, and the two of them are really what are going to drive the process. So those are kind of the two key roles that you need to get.
Yeah, architects are kind of big here. Almost everything goes through the architect, even when you're building and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right. An engineer can perform those same duties, but you're kind of getting, the traditional differences you would expect with the names. You're not getting a full-fledged, Frank Lloyd Wright kind of architect.
Was it a recommendation? Or was it a?
It was dumb luck.
You didn't. I know you didn't find him on Yelp or anything.
Actually, we met our architect while we were having breakfast one morning and started talking about her dog.
How? I thought you were gonna go.
No, her dog, and we talked about our plan and our experience.
But how did you feel comfortable picking her? Did she show you stuff, or I've done this, and this, or you just you felt chemistry, or?
A little bit of that. Our original plan was not to buy in the first place that we came to. We were going to travel around, and that plan went out the window immediately. But
because I want to say again, I really believe you guys got a great deal on this house. I'm going to keep saying that.
Yeah, no, I think so too. But when we were talking to her and the architect role came up, she was thinking that we were looking someplace 5 or 6 hours away. So she was telling us the process, and here's what you want to do, and trying to sell, the architect role, but not sell herself. So it actually worked really well that when we decided to do this.
So she was almost giving you information. She didn't have an agenda to sell you herself. She was kind of going, well, let me tell you some things you should do or whatever, right?
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, she was the first. And then ultimately we would be interviewing people for the general contractor builder role.
It didn't go through her?
She was involved in that process.
Okay.
We all were there for the interviews, but we looked at their prices and just experience.
But it wasn't necessarily somebody from her?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
she has those, but we decided that it probably would be a better outcome if we didn't have all of one team. People can work together well as a team, but we wanted to have a little.
We don't need a bunch of family members.
Well, no, and we wanted a little bit of competition, especially if it came to ideas and prices. And the competition of ideas really paid off in the long run.
That's good.
But for the builder, again, just absolute dumb luck. We had made friends, Tico friends down in the nearest town. And they were wonderful, helped us with every little tiny thing that we needed to know about living in the area, all the little quirks. And, we really came to trust and love and respect them. And when we had this list of names of people we were considering, they said, "Oh, this guy, he's good people. He's good people. I would go with him." And
yeah, word of mouth I think is important, especially if it can be trusted, I suppose.
Right. And this is a town smaller than La Fortuna, so if they know each other, it's
well.
probably good or bad.
Looking at this outcome, it looks like whatever you did was right. It seems so, right?
We hope so.
All right, let's go. Let's show everybody around. So we're not done on this one.
Nope. But we didn't like the entryway, and we took advantage of the fact that we had people out here with jackhammers and guys who could pour concrete, and got some new things added and some other stuff taken away. So some of it was just understanding where we could spend the money now. It may be a little bit more money, but if we wait and spend that money to have the same thing done 2 years from now, it'll probably cost twice as much, because you're bringing people out fresh and starting, you have to pay for a
Were you noticing that the pandemic affected some of the costs with all that whole supply chainy stuff? Or
I don't have a good frame of reference.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know what it would have cost beforehand. Some of the Tico folks on the project were telling us that prices had been affected, especially for steel, for the girders here. But in general, no, I don't think so. And on top of that, my wife, she always says that she's a really big tree hugger, and we need to do another one with her in this too. But she was wonderful.
We will.
We will. She was wonderful about making sure that we reused every single piece of the original house or frame that we could.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, we widened the garage, but the garage gates over there, it's the exact same ones. They reused a lot of the gates that were previously on other doors to build out the rest of the garage.
Nice.
So really had some good skilled people that made that possible.
How did you feel about that whole, like they like to say, Tico time, or were things done in a pretty good timely manner?
Wow.
Were you up? Because a lot of people, I've been around this a long time, and when they say sometimes, oh, well, 4 months, it's not that. It's more like a year. How was the time frames?
For us, it was amazing. And again, I want to give all the credit in that to our builder and our architect. And they did have enough sort of pushing of each other that it made it really come through effectively. But from start to finish, we're not completely finished, but I'm going to be moving us from our little cabina into the house in the next few days, and it's 4 months. 4 months, which really astounded us.
You realize you're going to have to say something negative in this video to make it more trustworthy, right? You can't just do all this good stuff, Chris.
No,
it can't always be good. We have to have something bad needs to happen.
Okay, I'm sure we'll get to it, especially as we go through in the raw.
All right,
but
let's go.
We certainly had to deal with rain. There's no way you can plan for that.
Right.
At some point, you've got enough covered in the house that people can work in the house when it's raining.
Because you were doing some outside work too, right? You in the back, that whole back, right?
A lot, yeah. And until the stuff outside got done and the roof was put on, you need good weather.
All right, let's start there. Let's start at the roof. Why did you feel like you needed to redo roofing or whatever?
Well, yeah, when it comes to the absolutely not sexy part of this project or remodeling, I think we understood the reasons why, but maybe when we were working through the math ourselves beforehand, we didn't think about as many invisible or nearly invisible parts of the project. The drainage, it was really subpar. I don't mean substandard, but I mean just it wasn't good. So that was a pretty major effort. The electricity, our electrical system could have handled anything that we wanted to do, but it was old. And, so we had that replaced. And so now getting back to the roof,
Were these surprises?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh,
Right.
shit, we got to do...
No, it's just as we were thinking through all the different parts of the project and sort of waiting, okay, at first we wanted to have, the traditional Chinese menu approach where we just kind of threw out, here are the 85 things, architect and builder, that we're thinking we either have to have done or want to have done, and help us understand the magnitude.
So was the roof too low? Was it
The roof was too low.
leaking? Was it...
Actually, it was in really good shape. We were surprised when we got into it. But first of all, it was too low. And second of all, this is strange, and I don't know if it's just the specific builder who built the original or a more common thing, but this was prefab. And prefab here, at least in this case, meant that they poured blocks of concrete that are about this big and this thick, and then they drop them into place and make sort of a, your log cabin, Lego cabin version of it. But the challenge then is that the original builder or the original owner decided where every single light switch would be, every single electrical outlet. And so that meant that was the footprint of the house. There were things in terms of the house, both in terms of the ceiling, but in the walls that we'll get to, that we just didn't like. And after a lot of discussion and research with the architect and the builder, it became pretty obvious that the only way we were going to get most of what we wanted was actually to raise the roof.
Probably made things a little easier technically in a way, didn't it?
It did.
Well, let's go in and show, because I remember when I first came in here, this was a little small room right here.
Right. And yeah, this was one of the first things that we disliked. I mean, as you remember then, this place that you see in gray, which is a really creative idea by the architect to at least sort of beautify where you're tearing concrete out of concrete.
This is all original tile.
Right.
Right.
All the orange is the original tile.
Right.
We found that the price of replacing the tile for the house was just prohibitive. And
this,
right.
Yeah.
It's good quality. And then just knowing that was the plan, we had to think ahead in terms of other colors. So, I mean, having the orange here probably meant that there are colors on our optional palette that went out the window.
So I remember this was not quite so open.
Right.
But this really concept,
Yeah.
I love this open concept. I always like the
thanks.
open concept.
Yeah, we do too.
So what are some of the things that can you point out that you changed?
Well, back to the roof you were saying. So as I can see, this part of the roof is all mesh, almost like a screen walled in at the top to let the air out and in.
That is the crown. Yeah, that is the crown that they added. So, I mean, it's not like they just took the old roof and lifted it. I mean, I know that can be done elsewhere with good equipment, but what they did is at the bottom of that crown is where the old ceiling was, actually.
So above right where the windows stop.
Exactly. And so that adds a meter, so about 3 feet to the height. But then
I'm assuming it's just space between the ceiling and the initial roof. There was no like insulation or anything, just a big space.
It's just wide open. That was one of the things that really made us
That's where the bats like to live, Chris.
Right, and they didn't. It was just in beautiful shape. Yeah. But, especially once we saw that, we realized how much sort of missed opportunity was happening here. So yeah, we ultimately decided, as you can see, to leave it open. We painted it the same color as the walls so that it blends better, but we combined that and our ceiling fans that we added, and we're going to need to do some extensions on those, but it really spreads the air around.
Well, especially this cross flow of air.
Right.
I mean, this is huge.
Yeah. Well, we've got it north to south and east to west too. So, I mean, yeah, where you came in, you saw it was just a really thin corridor. This was supposed to be a guest room, and then you stepped out into this somewhat large room. But as you probably remember, there was just a strange wall that might be like a column that was just here up to the ceiling and just had all this open space. This moved straight out into another doorway, but nobody had the key to the gate on the other side.
Yeah, so this is all, you did all this.
Right.
All this.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's different, whether you've remodeled before, whether you haven't remodeled, and it's probably different discussions. But, for us, we started by trying to figure out, okay, what are the things that we really, really want to have? I mean, we worked past the things that we need to have. Do I want to spend as much money on raising a roof as we did? No, but what it bought us was a lot of options. And one of the things that we definitely wanted was to have as much, not just open space in the house as we could, but as much either glass or open air space as we could get here, because...
And you got the screens.
Yeah.
That's a nice touch.
Yes, it is. The mosquitoes are brutal.
Yes.
There's your complaint.
Right.
Mosquitoes are brutal.
If that's the only complaint you have. So who was the overseer, the architect, or the general manager of the actually, you know, the day-by-day stuff, or were you guys checking in on it? Were you guys, how involved were you guys in the actual, hey, wait a minute, that window, or, you know, that?
And fortunately we had a relationship. I mean, I think that's one of the secrets to any of these kinds of projects. Build a great relationship, especially with the managers, the project managers.
Bring them brownies or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, a lot of Cokes and Gatorades
Yeah,
and
there
such.
you go.
We even threw the whole crew a party at the end.
Nice.
But yeah, no, they were watching it. So we had sort of either the builder or one of his designates. He's got an incredibly talented brother who works on some of their other projects. So one of them was always here every day. And then our architect, Kata, would come in sometimes twice a week. Technically, the architect's job after giving you the blueprint is just to do inspections. And that's to make sure
sure things are done right.
Right, that you know, she and we are supposed to have this conversation that brings together exactly what we want. She makes the list. She then makes different copies at the different levels, like, you know, here's what it should look like on the electrical grid. Here's what it should look like physically. Here's where the plumbing should be. And after she takes care of all those details, she hands it to the builder, and over time should be coming back then to say, okay, you've worked on this. Yes, that's not quite what I had in mind, so you need to redo that. But she was.
Yeah,
a
were
lot
there
more
any
involved.
issues like that? Were there any ones like, that's not what we said, or that's not what we looked, what are you doing?
Of course. And it wasn't so much like that. I mean, it was little things.
I'm trying to find negatives, Chris.
Okay, well, our sink is not centered. I mean,
You're not lying, are you?
No, I'm not. Yeah, no, I mean, there were some silly things. And you know, with remodels, again, if you've done it or if you haven't done it, it's the same thing.
No matter where you are.
Oh, geez, yeah, no matter where you are. At some point, it's like, really? Do I have to see another, you know, version of magenta? I didn't know there was more than one magenta, and I've got to choose between them. And my day is going to be picking what, you know, the outlets look like, or exactly which lamps do you want to work with which. So, I mean, the details at some point really get so nitnoid that, I mean, I think everybody who's involved in any kind of project, you expect that things are going to get lost in translation, especially if you speak the same language. But I mean, our builder worked for 13 years in the US, and our architect, she's been to the US a number of times and spent a year in middle school there. So they speak really competent English, but we still talk past each other an awful lot. Yeah. So, I mean, there were some challenges on that.
Okay. Yeah. Let's walk around and just
okay.
say what you did. Yeah. Was there any, so how detailedly did you change things? Like, in other words, like, are these all new outlets? Well, you did the whole electrical, right?
Yeah, it was all new outlets. We had to then decide, you know, where do you want the more expensive, powerful outlets. We had to sort of think through a number of the kitchen things at the same time, because we had to be able to say where we envision these appliances going before we've even bought the appliances, so that we can have electricity in the right places. So there's some of that. The plumbing had to be, the sink was put in while we were not here. And so it is not centered. We said centered. There's a complaint. It's way over here. But I think we'll live through that.
So the whole kitchen here, though, is totally redone.
Totally new.
Side question, what happened to that monstrosity island you had, that huge piece of
you'll see it when we step out back.
Flintstone type of...
Yeah. If you can
I thought it was cool, actually.
Well,
I liked it.
We thought it's cool enough that we're gonna try to figure out how to use it with the cabina, but that thing weighs at least 1.5 tons. Yeah. Not literally, but it's gonna take a lot of people. So we wanted to be able to do this and start over on our own, and that, I mean, having that pre-existing thing with the tile,
it doesn't work. Really
well, and on top of that, it would have even further limited what we could choose in terms of colors and styles, and that didn't make sense. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, as you can see, one of the things that we did is we tried to make sure that we took advantage of the full height that we got to the extent possible.
I don't recall, sorry, was this always this big here?
Nope. No, it was
the whole thing was one height, right? So from that top of this wall, just
right, all the way over.
Wow.
It had little fins in the wall. Again, we could never explain exactly what those were, but it was only because we lifted the roof that we could get rid of silly little details like that.
Was the roof the first thing?
It was pretty much the first thing. We did an awful lot of the work outside, especially to take care of the drainage first.
Yeah, let's go to the outside and then we'll go over to the side here, because this is totally different. Obviously, this is all done. I mean, this was all not here.
Right. No. And that was one of the strange things.
The drainage, what was the problem with the drainage? It wasn't draining. It was too close to the house.
So it was a few things. It was, I mean, well, you remember the house, and it's sort of an L shape. Where we're standing right now was the leach field. So all of the gray and brown water was sitting out here, which is kind of close to your living area and the bedroom. So, I mean, right away, we wanted to make sure that that was put someplace that would be more effective, because, I mean, we were going to make this as flat as it is anyway, but it was not very sloped. So the drainage was sort of stopping here, and in a few places it was going up against
it was closer. The little hills and stuff were kind of closer to the house or something?
Well, it was like a lot more, there was more of a slope in.
Yeah, right.
Remember, she had this spot in here cut out for maybe a pool.
Oh, there's the top of that.
Exactly.
There's the top.
Yeah. You want to throw it on our shoulders and get it up there?
No, thanks for asking, Chris.
No.
So most of the property drainage came this way towards your leach field.
Right. And then didn't necessarily move on. And we're on a mountain, so it's pretty easy to figure out where all the water needs to go.
So this excavation right here is all new, all this.
Yeah. Yeah, and they put in exceptional drainage here.
I'm loving this back porch. This is where I'd be. I hope you guys set up your living room back here.
Oh, we're definitely. I mean, yeah, we want to live outside an awful lot. And then, I mean, we've learned from some of the Tico structures in terms of, I mean, the eaves are longer, or I don't know, with wide, long. They poke out from the house a lot more. And that's because when rainy season hits, and it may rain for 3 or 4 days, you don't want to stop your life and put it on hold every time there's a lot of rain. So, I mean, this is made so that even if it's pouring, you can walk around the house and get to what you need to do. But what I was saying is that when we got this, one of the things that was strange about this house relative to Tico houses is Tico houses have a lot of outdoor living space. That's typically a priority. And in this one, it was only sort of a small entryway that was covered, and that's not really.
Yeah, they weren't doing a lot back here at all, were they? Because I don't think. I mean, obviously, this is all new. Yeah, there was nothing here, right?
No. Yeah, the crew made the terrace completely, and there was nothing. It just went from roof to roof over there without anything coming out here. So yeah.
Now, is the air? I love this house back here, Chris.
I know.
I want to live. Are you guys?
It's because you haven't lived there for months.
Are you going to do anything with that? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, we are eventually. I mean,
obviously not top priority right now.
No, we need to recover and enjoy our house and make back a little bit of our savings for a little bit. But yeah, eventually that'll be a guest house, and there's not much that needs to be done with it to make it. Really
guest house.
Yeah, and I mean, it is just going to be for friends and family.
I like that rustic feel. Yeah. So the fixing the drainage and the water flow of the whole house was pretty much top priority out here in this whole porch.
And putting in effective gutters. It did not have gutters around the house. So we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but there are some strange things. We learned that sometimes you need to ask the next question, or what feels like the dumb question. Because we didn't ask that question, we learned that when you have gutters installed, it's not necessarily understood that the downspouts are part of that. So they finished all of these and said, okay, we're ready to get paid. Like, well,
wait a minute,
seems to be missing something. No. So I mean, we're going to do PVC, and it's not going to be expensive. It'll be really nice, actually. But that was just. That's something.
Do you ever feel? See, I'm only asking these questions because, again, I've been around, talked to a lot of people. This used to be not a running joke, but it used to be, because this is similar. You kind of build a house almost in a sense, and a lot of people's experience is it's not a good one. They love the finished product of the house, but the process was not good for an abundance of reasons. I mean, whether your lumber got stolen or all kinds of different things. Did you ever feel like, I don't know, you got a little bit taken advantage of because you didn't know some things? Were you ever feeling like, hey, wait a minute, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean,
it's not like you've been living in Costa Rica
No.
for,
No, and I know those. We had an awful lot of, my wife and I did an awful lot in the beginning, not just to build relationships, but also to make sure that we had a good feel for how much we could and should trust the major people here. I mean, certainly the project managers, but then the entire crew. You hear about, sometimes crew walking off with a shovel or something like that. And it's not the end of the world, but I mean, we didn't have even that experience. And some of that really is just, we did a bit of due diligence and found a really worthwhile.
Well, I guess the
crew.
question, we're still going to go look around a little bit, but I guess the question would be, if you stayed within a close budget, that would pretty much answer the question of trustworthiness and you got what you wanted type of thing. So how do you feel about the whole, your budget and how it all fit in? Because usually when you're building, it's always going to go over. There's no way you got this for exact the amount. That's never happens anywhere.
Well, and to start with, we hadn't planned to raise the roof.
But
and,
do you feel
expensive.
comfortable that you got what you asked for and you didn't get didn't go? Okay, in other words, it didn't get to a point where like, oh my God, we don't even have any more money to keep going with this.
No, I mean, your account is dwindling, and it's also frustrating because you're trying to work. You have to work in colones almost exclusively, or you have to do bank transfers, which then are really challenging too. So you've got that. You've got Colono, which I know you guys have talked about before.
Cologne's like a hardware store.
It's your Lowe's. It's your Home Depot. It's it's one of those, but it's like the only game in town.
And
so
it's a pain in the ass to deal with.
it can
Colono,
be.
we don't. We're not big fans of Colono.
Again, we're in a small town, so the key there was we made friends with those people too.
Actually, this is what was I going to say? This is, I think, a good question too. So, payments. Was it half now, half when you get done, full amounts? Oh no, we want our money up front.
Right.
No, we'll give. Sometimes it's just the supplies.
Right.
And it's pay afterwards. So, can you say that, or is that too?
Absolutely. No, it actually completely depended upon the contractor. I mean, we had the main crew that built most of it, but when it comes to who puts in your windows, it's a special group that puts in your windows. You can't just go buy windows here. They make all of the windows. I mean, you can, but they insist on making all the windows. The electricians are different people. The plumbers are different people, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, kitchen was a specific person. And it varies from person to person, anywhere from 30 to 50% up front. For the
Fair.
major,
I mean, that's usually it. Pay for supplies and make sure.
Right. And I mean, actually for the real construction price, and for the group that was doing this for 4 months, we paid them 10% up front. And then we worked out, we looked at how long they projected. It is a little bit more than you're going to typically see with the mañana pura vida attitude sometimes, but they worked out, here's exactly the timeline we expect to work against, and let's say it's 12 weeks. The rest of it we will divide by 12, and here's what we would like to see each week, and that's just to pay the crew.
Yeah, right.
So, and then as we got much further along in the project, we talked to him and adjusted the prices. We said, okay, we know that you've done these things that we asked for that weren't in the original discussion, so make sure you tell us how much those are. So, I mean, some of that, it didn't come out so grossly over expense that, it gave us, heart palpitations. And I mean, again, I've done some remodel work in the U.S. also, and I mean, that was also more expensive and a pain to live through also. So I mean, I know I haven't lived in this house yet. We still got some work to do. When I'll really enjoy it, and we can say that, I'm being clouded by, the happy good times of living in a nice house. But, it was tough. I mean, it was challenging to live back here. And we did have to, we didn't micromanage. We didn't have to go in and say, you haven't done this, but, we were tactful.
Did you ever get actually worried? Did you ever kind of look at something going, oh shit?
Oh yeah.
I hope that's not going to be like that.
Right, exactly. Is this what we asked for? We'd have to check each other all the time. Did you mean to do that? Did I mean to do that? What did I say? I don't even remember. So,
let's walk and talk. So up to this point, you're not done yet, but close.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would have done different?
Man.
I mean, do you feel like I don't know, maybe more on like making a mistake thing?
Yeah.
Like, Is there something like, well, if we did this again, I think we would have done this little thing different, or?
I don't. I mean, when we made what would probably be thought of as mistakes, there was a reason for it. I mean, we started this during the rainy season, and the first part that had to be done was going to be outside,
right? Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, everybody was saying, well, just hold off and start in December. Yeah, but we bought this house. We don't have a plan starting in January. We want to live someplace. So we just, we pushed really hard. It would have been smarter to do this during dry season if I had the luxury of those sorts of things.
I don't know if there's really a technical dry season here.
No, I mean drier season.
Maybe.
Go this way, Michael, and then in, so that it relates with the other videos somehow.
Yeah.
Because this door was never here, correct?
No, it wasn't. Actually, this door, well, we at first were trying to reuse the door that was right here where the, accordion doors are, and they just found that the mechanisms for the locking and such weren't sufficient. So
this
that
freaking
was
whole
supposed to
house
happen.
is new.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, if we made a mistake, it was in not expecting it to be as much of a remodel as we should have. We fooled ourselves into thinking that it would be, we can just work on this and we can just work on that. Not much changed in this room. This is the one room that stayed the same. This is what is the real guest room now. But this bathroom, which we always disliked, we were able to, we hadn't planned to change this, but some of what happened with the plumbing while they were working it gave us the opportunity to do it for a lot cheaper. We weren't really going to add an awful
This is
lot
just
to
a
it.
second bathroom, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's nice, big.
Yeah.
Love the shower.
Thanks, yeah. I mean, we had to think through priorities like, we don't have a dishwasher. We had been living in the cabin for a while and found that we don't make a lot of dishes and we feel perfectly fine cleaning them ourselves.
Now, did you get all your, a lot of people complain about, not complain, but fixtures, outlets, some detailing thing. Did you get everything in Costa Rica, or did you bring anything down? A lot of people bring some stuff down because they can't find those. What I'm talking about, like whether it's lights or.
Yeah. No, we absolutely. It's a combination of those things.
Oh, so you didn't get everything here?
No. I mean, a lot of these lamps and such we were able to get. I mean, there's some really good, almost lighting districts down in San Jose.
True,
they have
there
little
is,
areas where you can get your ceramics, you can get those sorts of things. So we did spend some time down there as the house was progressing, and that's where we got most of the basic fixtures. But there are some things that we just knew we wanted a little bit better quality. Or
can you give an example? Or?
Yeah, actually, the outside fan is one of them. The ceiling fan out on the terrace. It's larger. It's designed for the outdoors, but it also is more than one variety. We found stores that have plenty of ceiling fans and maybe 10 outdoor ceiling fans, but that's what you're stuck with. And that it's not like those are the only 10 in the country, but you're probably not going to get a different brand or look.
There's a reason when you go into some Tico houses, basic Tico houses, that they all kind of typically are detailed the same, the same little tiles they use.
Right.
So for the better light fixtures and fans and stuff like that, you said you have to go, pretty much you found most of that in San Jose?
Yeah. Actually, some of the outlets that we like the best we bought at Duty Free in Panama. They're outlets that have a couple of USB plugs.
Yeah, so think about that, guys. If you're thinking about doing something like they're doing, remodeling or even building a house, a lot of people do pick some things that don't come from here.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, it was absolutely an option.
San Jose is a 3-hour drive from here one way, 3 hours back, so it's just something you got to factor in.
Yeah, right? I mean,
is this a master?
No, this is.
Where am I? This was the master big giant weird giant room, right?
So this is, we call it a computer room. We still have come up with a real plan for it. In the more distant future, it probably will be. We'll get a pull-out couch here, and it'll be another guest room.
It was connected to this one we're walking into.
Oh my gosh! Where'd this come from?
So I mean, as you may recall, what happened originally here, I mean, if you look at the slope, well, that's not the slope of the roof anymore, but the slope of the original roof, this was an add-on. She used this as a big sort of walk-in closet, but they kept the slope of the roof continuing all the way to the end, and this is about where it was. So when it got to here, even my wife, who's shorter than me, would pretty much be standing here. It seemed really strange to us. And you probably also remember that the master bathroom was tiny. I mean, it was extremely thin. It was probably about as long as this wall to that wall, but it probably was not much wider than this. And that just didn't sound like a
Man,
master.
every room is pretty cool. The airflow is really good. You guys really
The
good.
lighting is great.
Yeah.
The lighting
Good.
is great on all the openness.
Good.
Wow.
I'm
okay.
discovering that.
Check this out. This is nice and big.
Yeah, this was a complete new
Overhaul,
addition.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, you got a walk-in closet over here or no?
No.
Wait, is that
No,
where
that's
we
just-
just were?
Yep. That just loops around so that people
Everybody
who are in the
knows I'm
house
bad
can-
at directions.
That's
Everybody
okay.
knows I'm bad at directions.
No. So if people want to, people in the rest of the house we're entertaining inside.
What's this gonna?
Interesting.
Is this gonna be a? What's this going to
this-
happen here?
This is our big splurge. This is a garden shower.
Oh man, that's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, we'll put in dirt here. We'll put in probably some citronella, among other things, to scare away the mosquitoes. But we're gonna have plants here. Eventually, we're gonna have a lot of vegetation, plants, flowers on the other side. Right now, it just looks a little creepy that we're gonna be out here in the buff doing this thing. But this actually was a gate
this would
that
be
had
cool.
had been in the back also on one of the doors, but we were able to use this. So it'll rain down in here, but we can shower over here. It's just
Well, it looks like they did this a little bit like this, right?
Yep, they absolutely did. They sloped it.
That's all gonna work.
Yeah,
Man,
they're
that's gonna very
great
nice.
crew.
Very nice.
Yeah. In terms of things that were different or things like that, this reminds me of one day when the builder called me down and said, "Chris, let's talk about your bathroom sink. What height do you want it?" And I sort of said, "Well, waist high or a little bit low." And he's just nodding his head. The whole crew is there. I didn't understand why until the architect spoke, and she said, "Are you sure? You sure you don't want it down here? Because most people have it down here. Here's where Americans like it."
Wait,
It's like,
what?
Like, no, So yeah, there. It's just important, especially. I think that's one of the differences between remodeling here and remodeling in the U.S. I mean, you need to be explicit in the U.S., but here, just don't take for granted that something is understood.
Yeah, you know what? Say that again.
Yeah. Yep.
What was that?
Those are birds.
Parrots.
Parrots.
Oh, say that again, because that is probably that is the thing people really, really need to understand, and do not underestimate this.
Right. Don't take for granted that you're speaking even the same language, or that the details are understood. Make sure that you can. I mean, sometimes it feels like you're working with children, and it's not. It's not patronizing. It's just saying, okay, let's talk through.
Well, get on the same page and make sure you want them to make sure that you
the line is here, instead of saying, we want it at 3 meters. We want this to run even with the window. But we found out that
really the sink is kind of a good example.
Yeah.
You
Right.
obviously you're cool. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But I want it here.
Yeah.
This is the center.
Right.
And
I'm the one who does a lot of the stuff in the kitchen, and that's where I wanted it, so that if I am doing stuff by the sink, I can have the full use of my windows instead of part. But
it's a kind of a complaint. I think you're right. A lot of it's cultural in a sense.
Yeah.
It's not. It's definitely not. Because
Right.
So I get it, but
Yeah.
it is a problem.
Yeah.
It is kind of a problem when you're getting things like this done, and
Right.
you want it the way you want it.
Well, there was a long saga where we were not arguing, but we could tell that we were talking past each other. Stephanie and I and our architect and builder, we obviously were not on the same sheet of music, because there just kept being questions and tension and confusion about showers. And what we learned, what we were saying is that we wanted this shower fixture, not this one. We wanted this one here. It was in the other bathroom, and the other one that was sitting there was for here. We just wanted those switched. And we just kept finding that there was something that wasn't making sense. And for them, the shower is the piping behind the wall. So they were like, well, why do you want to move this?
Oh, that's interesting.
And I even got to the point where I said, we are getting a piece with the fixtures that are in the exact same spot the exact same number. It functions the same way. We still hadn't figured out that, I mean, something as simple as that. I mean, it's simple for them. It's simple for us.
And
but
that
it's not the
definitely
same
got lost
simple.
in translation.
Yeah. So, I mean, it risked really, you know, they probably would have eaten the cost, which is not cool either. Actually, if anything, we didn't feel like we got extorted. We felt like there were times where we had to say, no, you did more work than that. We need to give you a little bit more. But this is one where, like on a normal project, it would have, you know, to do this same effort 3 times would have been a lot more expensive. And so it's just, we needed to make sure that we were on the same sheet of music so that didn't happen the wrong way.
When this was being all done, were you guys always here?
No.
You felt good about that?
Sometimes.
How long were you not here for?
Well,
because
so-
I was just getting ready to say, I want to be around.
So we were here during a lot of the critical points. We were here for like the first month, 6 weeks, but then we already had Airbnb reservations, our original plan to travel around the country a little bit more. So we had a month here and we would come back sometimes on weekends just if they needed stuff. And then we had another month someplace else. And I mean, it was challenging. It was stressful.
I would advise people, I mean, just, you know, to be honest, I'd advise people, you want to kind of be around for the most part. But it sounds like the reason you want, I think you need to be around is because you just never know. But it sounds like you had a good team. So that's kind of maybe changes the answer a little bit, that you trusted the people you're around and that kind of thing. So.
Well, and we'd already made the reservation. So that I think the difference it made is in our peace of mind. I mean, we probably still would have gone with our month away, but yeah, we would have not felt as good about it as we ended up feeling.
So no remodeling remorse,
No. I mean, it's always more expensive than you think it will be, but
you've got to be happy with this.
Yeah, I mean, we got a great price on the house, and really, if I think about, you know, I've talked to friends. For example, we were posting updates on Facebook every week, and when we were having, you know, the bulldozer and the backhoe and stuff come back out here, they were here for days and days and days. And, you know, a friend in Texas said, so, you know, just give me a scale, order of magnitude. How much does that cost? And I told him, he said, that's ridiculous. I'm paying as much for a half day as you are for 3 weeks. So, you know, it's things like that where, you know, yes, the raising the roof was more expensive than a lot of other parts of it, and redoing the electrical. I mean, they're going to be in any remodel in any country for the same reasons, just the level of technicality and sophistication required there. But in terms of, you know, would we have paid the same back in the States? No.
Oh, no, of course.
No, it is.
Well, I mean,
really
we've said this 3 times, but I'm going to say it again anyway. You know, you got such a good price on this house. I mean, you really, even if you, let's say you got gringo price a little bit on the remodeling, you're still okay.
Right.
You know, so.
And we don't feel, I mean, I think it really helps that we don't have that. I mean, we don't have that remodel remorse because we felt so good about the process. And I mean, you know, like we said, we liked the competition of ideas between our architect and our builder, and put the 2 of them together with the 2 of us when we were trying to figure out, you know, how to make something just work or look really good. And we felt like the best idea always kind of won out. And it was a much better process from having the 4 brains working at it than, you know, having.
So you're happy with this outcome? You're happy with the process? Everything was pretty good?
Yeah.
Man, I was hoping for a serious negative, just a story.
I mean, there are things that we will finish over. I mean, there are plenty more things that we're gonna do.
Well, the funny thing is, which brings up another point. If people are super duper nitpicky, pissy ass clients, you might be in for some issues. I'm assuming, I'm not saying that you let things go, but you have to be willing to talk, and maybe they're like kind of like the sink a little bit.
Yeah.
Now you might get that moved. I don't know what you're going to do with that, but if you're like super perfection 100, you might be in for some.
No, we kind of laughed about it. We all did.
But you know what I mean? I mean, the advice to people that if they're going to come down here and go, well, I want this just like that, you're going to be in for a rude awakening.
Right.
Because you guys built a rapport, which I think was extremely important. And one of the reasons you probably got the, well, they did quality work anyway, but I think, you know, they want to do a good job for you. You guys have a rapport, so I think that was really important. So.
Yeah, and I won't try to say that I'm not type A. I am absolutely type A.
I've been around you, Chris. I know you're type A.
I'm still
A+.
I'm still becoming Costa Rica. I'm taking the pura vida vibes in, but you know, we just tried to figure out where to invest that. You know, where are you going to do that? And it's just beating your head against the wall for no reason.
Right.
Where do you think, well, I'm going to change Costa Rica? I mean, there's some things that when you start shaking your fist about it, what you're really saying is, well, I think all of Costa Rican culture should think and approach this differently. And it's like, if you can stop yourself and say, okay, this is really not realistic. And on top of that, in the big scheme of things, it's probably not important. So we figured out where the battles had to be fought.
Right.
Well, I think the whole world needs to change and put some Japanese toilet seats in the entire bathroom situation of the world.
Well, I will say that we have U.S. or U.S. style plumbing. So yes, we can use toilet paper. Right behind you, D'Angelo, under there is a whole house water heater, which is a big thing for us.
You know, this kind of setup, though, people, again, don't know. I don't think they understand that whole Tico style of the toilet and things the piping sometimes inferior, we'll say a little bit. So it's a combination.
I figured out, I've learned so many things about topics that I never wanted to care about. But yeah, actually the issue here is a combination of the relatively poor quality of the toilets and the general mediocrity of the plumbing. You put those together and it's not that,
you don't flush toilet paper.
Well, it's that it doesn't, the toilets don't pull with enough power. So if they're pulling matter of any type, then that's what clogs it up. So, I mean, we have good new plumbing and we've got a good, powerful toilet. And
you guys did all the important things, electrical, the plumbing, obviously the roof. I mean, those are just those three.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, you're a professional now, so I'm going to point everybody in your direction. You can
give you
help people
recommendations, that's for
remodel.
sure.
Yeah. All right, so hey guys, I'm Michael Allen. D'Angelo's behind the camera, adding his 2 cents. Real estate things are going to pop up if you think about research or homework. Check out our channel about this. We have a lot of interviews about videos like this. So check them out. They're going to pop up. Anyway, guys, peace. Say bye.